guest is Jennifer Clarke Askew. And Jennifer, we have an interesting guest today. He's definitely in the media just like me, and I'm really interested in learning about his entrepreneur journey.
Okay. Hi. Um, got Woody Watts for you today. He is the owner. He is the producer. He is the guy who thought it up. It's called Media Squatch. They are a radio and podcast studio located in Bedford, Virginia. And he's got, the last I looked, like 21 different shows that work out of his place. So he's able to do a little bit of everything, but I know he'll tell more about that. But it's everything from podcasts to commercials. And I was going to tell you, we had Jewett Reynolds on a couple of weeks back. He has the podcast Truth for Change, and that is where Jewett does his show.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks for coming on, and very intrigued by the radio and podcasting connection, kind of like mine with radio, podcasting, and television. So, how did this journey begin for you?
Well, a couple of years ago, I've been primarily into marketing and video work, right? And I got the itch to do a podcast, a true crime podcast. And my wife told me you should do one about a case that happened around us, so we wouldn't have to travel that much. And that kind of gave me the bug to do podcasting. And then I have been in the marketing world, so I kind of blended the two. And so now, fast forward, we opened a studio here in Bedford where we're really a hybrid, right? So we not only do marketing for clients, but part of that marketing is producing podcasts for them, producing podcasts for hosts. And then with the radio part, I had a difficult time trying to get our content on traditional media. I went about it my own way. I ended up just building an app where we have a streaming radio where we do it's morphed into doing live local sports, live emergency scanner. We do meetings, we do the podcast there. So we're kind of a good blend in our app and our presence here locally, hyper local, with a mix of podcast, live radio content, and various other things that we do.
Fantastic.
It's definitely different. I love the theme. He's very much into Sasquatch,
Yep.
which turns it out. Because you had a different brand name, and you
Yes.
rebranded a couple of years ago with Media Squatch, and I guess that took off
Well,
because as far as what I can see, it took off anyway in your area.
the funny part was Squatch was, so about 10 years ago, again, primarily I started doing just local commercials, right? Like local car commercials, local pawn shop commercials. And I was approached by a local car dealer that said, "Hey, we're buying ad space in the local theater, and we want a special commercial that will just run in the theater and not on TV. So go have fun, or whatever you want to do." All right. So I've had this Bigfoot obsession my whole life. And I was like, I've always wanted to put Bigfoot in a commercial, and this is my excuse to be paid to do it.
Right.
That's what we did. We put Bigfoot stealing the car, the truck, or whatever. And we ended up doing, like, I think 8 to 10 of those. We did one, and people locally just started talking about it, and they would call us to I put my dad in it, my neighbor, my friend. and that really, I will say, accelerated my Squatch fascination. And I love Bigfoot hunting. I did a podcast on Bigfoot, so it's kind of like in my bubble. But then, about 2 years ago, the type of services that we provided clients, I grew from just a hobby of mine to a couple employees. It morphed to an all media thing, being a creative media agency instead, and doing podcasts and doing original content and doing all this stuff. And I wanted, when someone saw the name Media Squatch, to kind of know the vibe they were about to enter in. Like,
Yeah.
you got to have fun. You gotta want to be loud in commercials. And if you like that, then we're a good fit. And that was kind of where Media Squatch came from. And then from there, it's just fun how marketing and podcasting and all of it, you can kind of connect the dots now. Before, there were separate worlds, but now everything just kind of lives under this marketing bubble that we're able to morph and use, do YouTube channels for people, but yet, like a roofing business, we're able to do their podcast and social media. And then Jewett, Truth for Change, which is a very impactful podcast, we're able to do his here. So it's really fun, the wide variety of content that we're able to do here, because originally I wanted to create original podcasts. Well, I found out that I was able to make a living doing it for other people better than I was myself. And, so that's kind of where we're at now.
You figured that out, that the power of that and how important that is for an authority. And when they don't have time to create content, you provide that need for them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You got a podcast, a show I know that airs with you guys, that it's not only at home in Bedford, because that is the home of the National D-Day World War II Memorial Monument, which is a massive monument. I mean, it rivals anything that you see in DC. It takes, if you're going to really see it, it takes a full day to really walk it, see it, and look at it, and take it all in as Overlord and D-Day. But I've gotten to do it a couple of times. It's well worth the trip to Bedford to go out there on Route 460, get off, and go to the D-Day Memorial. And it's not just impressive; it's overwhelming. It puts you right there. But you have that podcast with those guys, and that's now international, correct? As far as where they're broadcasting from?
Yeah, we're right down the road from the memorial, and
right.
It's a national memorial. So when we opened up, we were, I don't know, we called, like, they were interested in the idea of a podcast or something, but they didn't really know how to go about it. And that was 2 or 3 years ago. And they wanted to do a podcast where, when they called me, I was like, how can we talk an hour, like, for every episode about World War II? Like, and it was so interesting for me over the last couple of years. It's one of my favorite podcasts to just listen in on. I produce it. I sit by the board. But yeah, so the interesting thing about that is that 2 of the people that are on the podcast are local. They work at the memorial. The host is a historian that lives out in Missouri, and then they always have 1 or 2 guests that is anywhere. It can be in Normandy, it can be in Florida. And so any episode that we do for them, it's literally everyone's in a different time zone. Everyone is, zooming in. So it's really fun to see where, I don't know, the studio here in Bedford, when I first started, it was a wooden spool and a couple of mics. And then it's like a client will come in and ask, like, can we do this? Can we do that? And it just gets my wheels turning. And then lo and behold, a couple of years later, they're in like the top 10% podcast. It's a great asset for them. They're able to bring in just world-renowned guests on their show now. And it has become a major, I won't say it's a major fundraising thing for them, because they don't make any money from it, but it's a good vehicle for them. It's something that they're able to market differently than the memorial, that is content based off of what they do. And it's just another way that they can get, the National D-Day just out there more than just coming to the memorial. Right. Have a bigger presence because of it. And honestly, it's one of those ones that I didn't know what to expect, didn't know how long they would go. And they're one of the top, that we do. They're so well known. They have a great fan base. And a matter of fact, this Saturday, we're doing a remote broadcast for them. I'm packing up some of the equipment, and we're going to a American history conference where they'll all be on a panel, and we'll do about 8 episodes for the whole day, where they'll just have World War II stories coming through. So It is a wonderful podcast on its own, but the fact that it's done in Bedford is just amazing to me. It's amazing how this community has supported not only us, but podcasting in general.
Yeah. But in general, what I want to say for the people who don't know about Bedford, Virginia, and if you grow up in Virginia, particularly in the rural areas, you learn this very early when you're learning history. It's the Bedford Boys. There are books on it. There are movies on it. All kinds of things. In World War II, on D-Day, Bedford, Virginia, had sent quite a few young men to be in the military, and they lost 26 of their boys from that small town on D-Day, which was the most impact of any community anywhere in the United States. I mean, New York City didn't lose that many on D-Day. So Little Bedford lost 26 of their boys. The town has always remembered that. And then that memorial being built there, and now this podcast that is out there for everyone so that they can broadcast from Normandy or from down in New Orleans where they've got World War II museum. You know, it's fantastic. And it's coming out of your studio, which is great for Media Squatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's flattering. And it's
Yeah.
honestly, you do one and you hope people listen. And then, and again, it really has to do with the community, because a lot of what we do are local, hyper local shows.
Yeah.
So we're talking like the Chamber of Commerce, the business coalitions. The town of Bedford has their own podcast where they recap the council meetings. But then we also do a few that are more, that aren't so local, like the D-Day one has a bigger audience, Truth for Change. And then we do a couple of ones for political, correspondence. They come in and they do a show. So it's interesting to see over the last couple of years, like you never really know. You put some mics around the table and then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, man, we're doing 20 shows and you're doing topics that I had no idea that I would be sitting in on. And it's a super flattering experience.
Yeah.
Right. And what you've learned in this experience is the power of podcasting, that this is something that can be an extension to the brand in so many ways. And I think it's so important for people to understand that just creating content on your own, it's going to be very, very difficult. But when you create a podcast, you really become that authentic self, true self.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. And one of the things, it's funny because we do a lot for service-based industries like HVAC, roofing, stuff like that. And after a while, content-wise, there's only so many pictures of roofs, shingles that you can post that people will tune out. And then like you said, Neil, like people are able to come on and actually show why they started their business, who they really are, build that trust, and the podcast allows them to do that. And selfishly, it gives us more content to help them, and they're able to get a different audience, and they're able to learn. And I will, in this area, I love how engaged the audiences are for their particular podcast. I will take a handful of listeners over top of tens of thousands of Facebook views on a sponsored ad, because these people are engaged, they're locked in, and they listen, and it's like they know what's going on, instead of just doom scrolling.
That's so true. And it's something where you're like, hello, it's just, and it's a relationship building. It's a power of relationships, especially if they're in an industry. And then people now, it doesn't mean always the business comes through the podcast, but it's the thing that makes them say yes. They see their YouTube channel, they see their reels, they see the podcast. They're like, well, these other competitors I can't get to know the business owner like this. It's today's radio, when they used to have, the Saturdays where they'd fill the radio day with businesses, for their little infomercials. Now they can create things that are much better, not be controlled by an infomercial, and really tell a story that then they can use, because it's video and audio in so many different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you finding a lot of sponsors as far as commercial advertising to keep some of the podcasters being able to be able to afford to keep going at it?
Yeah, it's funny because like it's being a hybrid studio. We have the luxury of we offer so many services to some clients, right? Like social media, website, and the podcast.
Right.
But then on the other side, it helps us offset, like when we do the local high school basketball games. The community's so supportive. Like, I mean, they really do chip in and sponsor. And that's one of the things about having, I say back in the day, it makes me sound really old, but like, there are a lot of gatekeepers in media. And now the fact that we're able to literally show up at a local game with a board and headsets, broadcast to the app with no, wall up, and the community engage and say, yeah, I'll give you $500 sponsor thing. It's just, that's what you want. That's the engagement you're talking about. So, I mean, for us, for marketing wise, we do a blend. Like for some of the podcasts, we do have the nationally, dynamic ads inserted because it's easy. But then also with that ability, we're able to, like, if there's a local event going on or public service announcement, the community is great, about getting us information or running an ad or running advertisements in the app and on the podcast. This community has been so supportive, which is funny because when we opened up 4 years ago, the whole reason I built the app was we did one show, then two, then three, whatever, and trying to explain to people who aren't podcast people how to go listen was very difficult.
Yeah.
Like, you would say, go to Android. If you have an Android phone, go to Apple or Spotify and subscribe. And then the question was like, does it cost to subscribe? Like, no, like it just became a hindrance. So that's why we even did the radio station route where, okay, download our app. We have all of them in there and we go live, but then also we're also available on all the other platforms. And to see the growth over the last few years of how people have accepted not only our little platform, but also just now podcasting, they tune in, it's really nice. And it shows also the land, how much the landscape changes, in a year or two with marketing and information and media. It's crazy to look back.
It is different.
Yeah.
I'm just learning it, and I'm not even a newbie. I'm below that, trying to learn this.
No, it's and I look in here and it's like years ago, I would think of like to do this setup would cost way more than I have and the means of whatever. Then now you fast forward and I'm looking in here and we do 2 or 3 YouTube channels and one of them just hit 100,000 subscribers. And it's just kind of like, man, this is in a corner of Bedford by the railroad tracks in an old public works building. It's just, who would have thought like 10 years ago that would even be a thing?
No, totally. It doesn't matter where you're at, Woody.
No,
you can be anywhere.
I love it. I'm so blessed. It's just everybody asks you, what do you do for a living? It's like you feel when you start saying it, you feel bad. Like you're like, man, I have a great.
You're having fun.
Great.
You're having fun for a living. Yeah. Well, what I was looking at it because when I was looking at your stuff with Truth for Change, and then when I was looking through that, I was like, wait a minute, he has an app. What is this? So I go over to my Apple store there, and I'm looking at going, it is an app. It's Media Squatch Plus. He really does have an app. And it's like, because I don't know if I wasn't expecting it there. I don't know, but there it was. So I downloaded it. So then I was able to check it all out and kind of learn a little more and see what else was there. And I was like, all right, there's a lot of different shows there. And hopefully I'm going to be able to convince Jamie / Jewett, them that, hey, how about inviting me up there? I'd sure like to see the studio.
Yeah.
And then I get there and see you've got a real studio with a train that goes by.
Yeah.
That people actually like the train in the background. And you had a setup that was just awesome as far as being a small local business, and and the Squatch was on the sign on the way in and on the sign on the way out saying goodbye, and then inside taking pictures with Squatch after we finished the show. So it was like, this is a fun atmosphere, and you had built that, so I like that a lot. And then talking to Jewett and looking at things, I know you guys are out there with Spotify and Applecast or podcast and the YouTube. I'm not sure what else, but I know you're out there. So
and the funny part is that the app was one to tell people how to listen to some of the shows we do, and then some of the hosts like, we want to go live. Can we go live? Where we built that, and then the other part of me was just a really selfish reason. I just kind of wanted to learn how to build an app. I mean, honestly, like it was kind of like I needed a reason. I didn't really have, and then that kind of came about, right? And it's morphed into like a little local hub. I really love it. I've always wanted to build like a little community resource, and this has kind of been fun for me to experiment with, to promote something to promote. And then my whole obsession with Bigfoot, I learned in those car commercials. In marketing, you can easily offend and turn off people very quickly, but the one thing that really doesn't do is Bigfoot. Either people will roll their eyes, right, or they'll laugh, and I love that, or I hate it. It never really offends or just turns them off. So it's so funny when people walk in like, why Bigfoot? I was like, well, why not? Like, you can't get upset. Either you believe or you don't, but it doesn't really. You don't get mad about it.
No, it's just fun.
It's fun. It's just fun.
That's the key. Fun. Woody, how tall are you?
I'm only 6'1". I'm
6'10", so I have to come out and dress up as the Bigfoot.
Yes. Oh, you'd be perfect. You'd be perfect. I have 3 suits ready for you. Tell me when. Okay.
Okay. That'll be a lot of fun.
And Neil finds his image. It'll be, what's Neil? Well, he's Squatch.
I ended up doing the Darth Vader water bucket challenge. One of my
Oh my.
local television station in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh asked me to go do it when it was the ice bucket challenge was popular, and I was Darth Vader. So search ice bucket challenge Darth Vader, and you'll see me there.
Okay. Okay. Now
I
I
don't
will
think I think I'm the only one where the ice bucket challenge is Darth Vader, but
the
go
actual
figure. I
Darth.
should put that on my. I'm redesigning my website again. I should go
That
do
is
that.
that
That's
would
a
be it.
headline. I will tell you the only warning I do give for our Bigfoot suits, they're really realistic, right? Like, I mean, they're like from a distance, and out here in Bedford, there are a lot of hunters, right? So it's like we do have to, we are very careful when we go out near the peaks or in a suit. We always kind of have a couple of watchers just in case, because that would be, yeah.
Have you thought about dressing Squatch in like blaze orange for hunting?
I mean, yeah, the right time of year, absolutely. We are very cautious because I, yeah, I can see the headline now.
Yeah, yeah, because somebody's going to think they saw Squatch and they got Squatch.
Listen, from a distance, it's been, and I've gone out on Bigfoot hunts, right? We've gone out in the national forest and found footprints. That's a whole nother podcast. But listen, that suit from a distance, it'll make you do a double take. It really will. And it's like, man, did I see him? Did I not? So yes. So if you ever come near, I will. We'll have a team ready for you.
No.
All right, that's fantastic. That's great. Is as we take the Media Giant productions on the road everywhere, for sure. That's happening for sure. So I guess what is your ultimate goal? It's like you've created this local community. You have your radio show where then you can broadcast so they can check out live. You're bringing back the internet radio stations, which were really popular 15 years ago when I started, and they disappeared. I believe that it's going to come back again because everything comes back and again. So it was very smart of you to decide to try something like an internet radio station because, again, all these shows should be ready for radio. And there is possibilities of getting them on regular radio. It's cost. There's a cost involved, but it's really an important thing because we go full circle in media and never you might think something's gone and then it comes back again.
Right. Exactly. And that's one of the things that for the longest time when I was making the local commercials, I did have to deal. I say it that way. I don't mean it that way. Have to deal with traditional media outlets. And it was a lot of like a goal of always producing content or always getting out there. And it was always so expensive for businesses. And I felt bad. I was doing a commercial for the business. They would pay me production and then they would barely have enough money to actually run it on the avenues. So for me, it was one of the reasons I even did Media Squatch was to have an avenue for local small businesses that was a more affordable outlet for advertising. And I think that one of the goals for like my app or the podcast is making it affordable for the people that don't want to invest in equipment, that don't have the time, that, we have a platform for this small community that really is tight knit. And I think the ultimate goal with every creator or creative person is to get to the point where you're producing original content, and how that looks it's so different for me now versus a couple of years ago. Like original content can be true for change. We're doing shows for other people. We're doing business shows. We're doing, so it's, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, what would be the outcome? I'd be completely different than today. And it's so funny to see how much I'm genuinely excited to see where it goes, because I feel like a lot of doors are opening up for people like myself that are kind of a jack of all trades and want to get into a media type of thing. But in the past, it was so impossible, or we tried to partner with the radio station and the cost was so crazy for a 30-minute time slot. And it's
I think television is going to be open too.
About it, like,
I believe television is once all the local shows are, when all the TV, ABC, NBC, and CBS pulls all the programming, which is going to be probably, I'd give it 3 to 4 years, and they go streaming. What are those television stations going to have? Yeah, nothing. So it's coming. Now,
you look at the commercial breaks now, right? So when you watch local television and even radio to a certain extent, look at the difference in the amount of commercials now versus years ago and the different vendors. You would be shocked at especially in our local market, at how little companies are advertising on broadcast television now compared to streaming or podcasting. So it's fast forward another, like you said, 2 to 3 years. I mean, I think that you'll see a lot more places like what we do here, Media Squatch. You'll see a lot smaller, little media companies pop up that are producing media for that crowd. Like, and
No doubt.
that's what's exciting. Like, I produce a bunch of like Bigfoot podcasts now because that's my thing. But like that's an example, like a little production studio that specializes in local content or specializes in this and you look at my equipment, it's not like a big studio equipment. We're finding stuff on Amazon, ordering and selling it.
Got it. But you don't need that. You don't need always that. You need so Woody, best place people can find information on Media Squatch. Where can they go?
Mediasquatch.com, and on social media, all the handles at Media Squatch. We post a ton of stuff and reach out. We love to hear from anybody.
All right. Sounds good, Woody. Thanks again. And go to JenniferClarkeSQ.com to get ready for the big launch of her book on what date again, Jennifer?
We're looking at November 18th, and I'm sitting here patiently waiting for the UPS delivery today. My author's copy of my book is supposed to be here, and I've been all day long looking at my phone going, out for delivery, out for delivery.
Gosh, I know how that works. All right. So you're listening and watching the Neil Haley